Another video. Thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, today we got a pretty serious topic. I'm pretty sure all of you can see this sort of trend that's taking place around the world. There is an immigration crisis happening around the world. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So buckle up.
Four in 10 new babies had at least one foreign-born parent last year. Diversity is not our greatest strength, and we do have an Indigenous British culture that is worth protecting. But here we are. 40.4% of births in Britain were to families with at least one parent not from the UK in 2024. In 5 local authority areas, that figure rises to 80% of births. Well, where are they? Well, to put it this way, in London, all but 2 boroughs had a majority of births from households with at least one foreign parent. So our capital city is basically not British anymore, is it? But this is right across the country. The number of foreign-born parents giving birth in Leicester has risen by 11% in just 8 years. Manchester, 10% up. Wolverhampton, up by 19%. So, where are they coming from? Well, mostly it's India, Pakistan, Nigeria, Romania and Bangladesh.
Well, would you look at this? These are some of the same nationalities that we are experiencing problems with in South Africa. This thing that's going on cannot be random. It cannot be that the whole world is crying about the same thing that's happening at the exact same time in the exact same way. And then you call this a coincidence. This is orchestrated. In South Africa, we too are experiencing massive infiltration from Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Nigerians, Ethiopians, Somalians, Mozambicans, Zimbabweans, massive, massive, massive Congolese. And it's starting to look like they're not just coming into our countries, but that they're being brought into our countries because something just seems very coincidental or convenient about how everywhere in the world they're crying about the same thing. Poland, you know, if you look at the last video I made, Poland and the Netherlands were making a law around illegal immigration, because what's happening around the world is that indigenous populations or native populations are being replaced with an immigrant workforce. And I know it's ironic that you know, this is a British news channel. And when you hear the British talking about, oh, we're being invaded and it's ironic because they became Great Britain because of them invading other people's countries. So, yeah, you know, the tables have turned now, and evidently nobody enjoys someone coming in from outside and just taking over their culture and replacing it with a new culture and then forcing them to assimilate to this new culture. Nobody likes it. So it's just ironic to see the British complaining about something that legitimately made them who they are today. That's what made them great. But anyway, that's not the topic of my video today, or the focus of my video. The focus of my video is about this orchestrated invasion that's taking place around the world into several countries by these countries in particular that I've just mentioned, and some of them that are on this chart that you guys are looking at. Isn't it decidedly convenient that the whole world is experiencing the exact same thing at the exact same time and in the exact same way? Now, there is a theory out there that calls this the replacement theory. And the fact that when you try to search about this particular issue, you are met with this response that this is just a conspiracy theory. I mean, even if you search on AI or try to get more information from AI, literally AI will tell you that this is nothing more than a conspiracy theory. And yet we have numbers to prove and back up the fact that indigenous populations are being wiped out. They're being replaced with immigrants who are coming from their countries seeking greener pastures or seeking economic opportunities because their countries have become unlivable. Now, of course, running away from your country is never the solution, because if you are running away, who will fight for the rights of your people in your home country? But many people are cowards. Many people don't want to go through the pain of fixing their countries or standing up to their governments. And so now we're faced with this crisis where the indigenous local people of countries are being systematically replaced with cheaper immigrant slave labor. And it's causing huge problems in terms of culture, race. So you'll hear terms like xenophobia and racism coming up quite a lot in these multiracial, multicultural countries, because I personally don't believe that we were meant to live in a multicultural, multiracial society. It doesn't work. You're supposed to live in a community with people that you share the same ideologies, ideals, culture, language, all of those things to make development easier. But development becomes very difficult when we speak different languages, we have different cultures and different approaches on how to do things. And you can't govern a country that is multicultural or multinational, because what's good for one ethnic group or one culture might not be good for the other. And so what that's going to trigger is these ethnic wars and cultural wars and conflicts. That's just common sense. Now, do you mean to tell me that the world leaders are so dense and so stupid that they don't realize that mixing all these people from different backgrounds into a melting pot does not work? No, of course not. They know exactly what they're doing, and this is being orchestrated deliberately. Now, let's continue watching the video and I'll share some more of my thoughts.
Mali's also rank amongst the nationality with the highest birth rate. Also, let's have a little think, shall we, about who's coming across the channel. Well, it's loads of people from Afghanistan and Sudan. Well, the average number of children in Afghanistan is about 5.3, and in Sudan it's 4.3, apparently. So the British birth rate, meanwhile, is plummeting. It's fallen by a quarter in 15 years. In contrast, births to Indian mothers have risen by 73%, West Africans by 37%, the Poles and Romanians, they're up 32.6%. But I know what many of you will be thinking now. How on earth do they afford it? Well, do you know what else is really interesting? So families from the Bangladeshi and black ethnic groups are more likely to receive income-related benefits, according to statistics. The combined Pakistani and Bangladeshi ethnic group had the highest rate of economic activity in Britain, apparently. We have more than 1 million foreigners claiming benefits, and they, by the way, are just the ones who are here legally. So it does beg the question, doesn't it? Who is paying for all of these children? Are white British people less inclined to have children because they worry that they might not be able to afford them, whereas people from other ethnic groups just crack on? And why can't white Brits afford to have them? Well, maybe it could be because they're paying loads of money in tax to subsidise foreign people's babies. I mean, it's little
Ding, 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 ding. Does this look familiar, South Africans? Doesn't this look familiar? We are paying, as citizens of South Africa, to subsidize the government paying for foreigners to come and live comfortable lives in our country. We're making it easier for foreigners to come in as immigrants and receive more benefits and more rights than the indigenous people of those countries. Now, isn't that strange? And isn't it ironic? It's not just happening in South Africa, it's happening all over the world. Now, you'd ask yourself, why are governments subsidizing immigrant invasion using tax from the natives? You're basically paying, you're funding your governments to replace you with a new slave workforce. In South Africa, it's gotten to a point where our public clinics and hospitals can't be accessed by the locals, and even medication, because they run out or there's overflooding. There's too many people. And so South Africans are not getting medical attention because there's too many foreigners that are crossing the border to receive free healthcare and free medication. And mind you, the foreigners are taking the medication and selling it to go sell it in their home countries. Because everywhere else in the world, you need to come in as a foreigner with your own medical insurance and you have to pay for medication. But for some reason in South Africa, the constitution is deliberately being misinterpreted to allow foreign nationals to come into the country by their droves and basically steal public facilities and public resources that should go to the indigenous, the native people of that country. So what you're seeing in South Africa is happening all over the world. And there, of course, is pushback. But when you push back against this, you get called all sorts of names by NGOs, by your government. Like in South Africa, they always attack us by calling us xenophobic, even though what we're doing is standing up for ourselves because it's common sense. You have a national budget that is supposed to cater to a particular number, your population. So if you say anybody from all over, legal, illegal, they can just come in and get free healthcare and free medication, you haven't budgeted for that, which means that the South African locals are going to be the ones that suffer. This is common sense. This is not xenophobic. There is a designated number or a budget that goes towards these things, these resources that a country provides. So if you just open your borders or you allow your borders to be porous, like what's happening in South Africa, our borders are being allowed to be porous. The South African National Defense Force is not stopping immigrants from flooding in. They've clearly been told to allow them in. When you see them taking bribes at the border, they're not doing it because of the bribe, guys. They're doing it because they've received instructions to allow this to happen. Now, you see what's happening in the UK. They're also being outbred, which is a danger for countries in Asia and Europe, or just white countries and Asian countries in particular, because their birth rates are so low. And now you've got immigrants coming in that are making more children than the natives. Same thing is happening in South Africa. Our hospitals are filled to the brim with foreigners who are giving birth. There was a statistic that came out the other day that or from a nurse that said that out of the 10 people or mothers that were giving birth at one time in one of the hospitals, 7 of them were foreigners, if not 8, and only 2 or 3 were South African. That is alarming because if you're being outbred, that means your government is systematically working towards replacing you, the natives of that land. Now, this is happening everywhere, all over the world at the same time. In Asia, in Europe, in America, the Americas. To the point, you see what's happening in America with the ICE. Donald Trump is literally shooting anybody that is not white out of their country because they don't want their population of whites to be replaced, obviously for election purposes. You want to keep power in the hands of the majority. And if you have immigrants that you're naturalizing or that are gaining citizenship, you will no longer have those numbers as the indigenous people. And so the culture will start to fade away, the principles will start to fade away, morality will start to fade away because it'll become a free for all. People come into your country with their own cultures, their own system of beliefs, and they're going to bring the same problems that caused their countries to become what they are. They're going to bring them to your country. So this is the problem with invading foreign lands, with invasions and with colonization, because this is what it is. It's colonization. Britain has been colonized. It's ironic, I know. And they can't take it. They can't handle it. But it was okay when they were doing it. But anyway, that's not my topic. That's not my focus. The point I'm making is that all over the world, there are invasions that are taking place that are being subsidized by governments. It cannot be a coincidence. Guys, that this is a coincidence. This is something that has been orchestrated for a long time under the guise of globalization. They gave you a false sense of security by telling you that it's only the guys that are coming in with scarce skills that are coming to your country. But when you walk outside, you realize there's no such thing. There's no such thing as a scarce skill. These people are not bringing anything new that the local people cannot do. You've been lied to by your governments. And guys, governments and democracy, governments under democracy are nothing more than gangsters. The elites are running gangs, and the gangsters are your politicians and your celebrities. Governments are gangs, and the world elites form the biggest gang with smaller gangs that are called countries and governments. And they are taking over territories globally, and they're using the same plan. They're indoctrinating you using social media, using TV, using the internet, basically making algorithms to turn you guys into alcoholics, drug users, party animals, pleasure seekers, giving you instant gratification, changing the neurology of your brain to make you seek instant gratification so that nobody can stick with the project long term. Nobody has any determination anymore. Everything is quick, 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 quick. And everything that they're giving you that is quick is meant to destroy you. Why? So that nobody can rise up and resist against what the government is doing. Everybody's too drunk and high. Everybody's too drunk and high to pay attention to what's important. They've completely neutralized the youth. The youth is supposed to stage a revolution because they're the ones fighting for their future. But now the youth are just drunkards, alcoholics, drunkards, party animals, because that's the lifestyle they've shown you. That's the life they've programmed you to say, hey, this is how you should live. Debauchery, no self-control, no discipline. You've been duped. You've been played, guys.
That a shocking report earlier this year suggested that white British people will become a minority in the UK population within the next 40 years. By 2100, that same report predicts 6 in 10 people in the UK will either not have been born in the UK or will have at least one immigrant parent. Now, Britain is currently being treated like a plot of land where everyone from all over the world gets to come and live and have kids. And British
Guys, that is literally what is going on in South Africa. Again, I emphasize, this is not a coincidence. And I'm gonna tell you what my theory is at the end of this video. I'm going to explain to you guys that we've watched elites colonize the world. You know who I mean, right? Those guys whose name starts with the Z. We've watched them go around the world, colonizing, causing problems, taking over, using technology as a weapon, using the internet, using algorithms, AI, and weaponizing things and then telling you, oh, it's free, enjoy. No, 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 guys. Nothing that these elites have created for the world has improved the quality of people's lives. People's lives are getting worse every single day. The wealth gap is increasing. With every innovation that's introduced, the middle class is getting wiped out. The wealth gap is increasing. Society is becoming more desperate as they realize with every year that they can't afford houses or a house, they can't afford a car, and very soon they won't be able to afford electricity, water, food. Everything is going to be privatized and everything is going to be rationed. They will give you portions of what to eat, they will tell you where to live, and essentially corporatize slavery. See, slavery has been experimented with by these elites in various countries. I would say that with the apartheid system, that's as close to perfection as they got. And they've been repackaging slavery because has not been abolished, guys. Capitalism cannot exist without the exploitation of slave labor. Why? Because the goal of capitalism is to maximize profits. Capitalism does not care about humanity. Its objective is not the well-being of society. It is not a sustainable system for preserving humanity. It will lead to the inevitable extinction of humanity because capitalism does not prioritize culture. It does not prioritize humanity. It prioritizes money. That's why the system of money has been created as an incentive for your survival. It's the cheese. It's the bait. It's what keeping you going around the hamster wheel. And it's an extremely dangerous system because it fails to recognize people as actual human beings. Humans or people are nothing more than a commodity in helping them achieve their objective of maximum profit. Capitalism does not want everyone to survive. Or let me put it like this. Capitalism does not allow for everyone to survive. It only allows for the elite few to survive. And in order for you to belong to the elite few, you have to sell out. Your ambition and hard work will not get you into that club. And even when you're in, you're not a first-class citizen as they are, because for them it's generational. There's family involved, there's family ties, generationally. You're just an outsider, even if they give you a seat at the table. You are beneath them, and they will treat you as such. Capitalism and democracy are nothing more than disguises for criminal gangster syndicates. And that's what's running the world. Countries are nothing more than gangster organizations that are essentially criminal syndicates that are running the world, that have entire production lines and trade that link up between different countries, executing the same criminality on a global mass scale. Trust me, what's happening in your country is not unique to just you and your country. The same things are happening globally and they're being orchestrated by the same people. While you guys are busy fighting, and naturally you will, because you've put all these different people of different cultures and nationalities into just one place and forced them into this melting pot. And you're forcing them to live amongst each other. And you can't live among certain people that don't have the same ideals and values and culture as you do, and morals as you do. It's going to lead to conflict inevitably. But slavery and capitalism doesn't care about your culture, doesn't care about your identity. They just want workers that will work and keep their mouths shut. Slavery has been privatized, guys. It's just been rebranded. Now they're calling slaves employees. They're calling labor camps countries. But your country has nothing to, if you notice, countries these days have nothing to do with the national ideology, nothing to do with culture anymore. Now it's about the globalization, the globalist agenda. It's multinational, multiracial. Let's all come together, sing kumbaya while we slave away and work for the elites, the bourgeois or the bourgeoisie. You've been tricked your whole life. And now finally the penny drops. And people are realizing that there's something wrong going on here. And unfortunately, you're receiving your news in your country in isolation. They're not giving you a comparison of how the same exact thing is going on all around the world. Because something like this is supposed to trigger global outrage. The countries with big populations are just exporting their people to other smaller nations to basically take over. And these countries with big populations don't necessarily have the best morals.
People, I feel, are being expected to pay for that. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We have the Director of the Public Services, Mark Littlewood. We have landlord and activist Adam Brooks and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. So, Mark, you're a numbers guy. You're a stats man. What do you make of some of these figures and potentially what it means for Britain going forward?
Yeah, it's pretty worrying, Patrick. And you highlighted one thing there which I think is important, high tax rates. But rather than, I think, looking at non-Brits having kids, we've got to ask why Brits are having so few. That's really the thing that's dropped off. You're right, there are increases in certain areas and amongst certain nationalities, but it's really that the indigenous native population have stopped having children. Why might this be so? Well, partly I agree with you, it's high taxes. There's also ludicrous property costs. I mean, we haven't dealt with the housing crisis. So if you're in your 20s and you're trying to get on the property ladder, want a sort of home that could suit a family, good luck. You're going to have to be extremely rich. We have a tax system that penalises single earner households. So you're much better off under our tax system to have two people, mum and dad, both working on 50 grand a year than one person working on 100 grand a year. So again, family formation and one of the parents staying at home disincentivised. I think we've got to turn all that around. If, it won't be true of all of these families, of course, but if you are basically content or have accepted that you're going to be spending your life on welfare, those incentives don't matter so much.
Exactly.
If you are determined that you want to work, put a roof over your head, live in private accommodation, not state accommodation, everything is against you. So the way to tackle this problem, I think, is to look at it down the other end of the telescope, have many more incentives, or at least not disincentives, for white British people to have kids. And at the moment, everything runs against them.
OK, yeah, fine. And again, as, by the way, some of those stats do point out, so, for example, Polish and Romanian migrants into Britain are also having more children. Yeah, this isn't just about before people jump on the bandwagon. It's just about a colour thing or race thing or anything like that. One would imagine that most of the people coming from Romania and from Poland are probably white, right? So it's not just about that. But I think some of the other ones here are quite interesting. You see India, Pakistan, Nigeria, Bangladesh in there. You also see the fact that Somalian birth rates tend to be a lot higher, as indeed do the Sudanese. And I just wonder whether or not there is a potential for cultural issues.
There's a massive problem now. My family are from Bethnal Green. My mum was born there, my dad was born there. It's an area I used to love going as a kid. You go to Bethnal Green on market day, it looks like something out of Bangladesh or out of Asia. And I'm not having a go, but how is that a positive thing for Britain? At the end of the day, I'm all for an inclusive country. I've got black friends, brown friends, foreign friends, it doesn't matter. But it's almost like the whole country is being wiped out by people coming here and just staying here. 1 in 4 sexual assaults is by a foreign-born man. How is that a good...
Just to add on that, he says it's almost as if, because he doesn't want to just outrightly and frankly just call it what it is, that they are being replaced. There is an agenda. It cannot be a coincidence because the same thing is happening around the world. And isn't it interesting how they're echoing the same sentiments that we as South Africans have been echoing for such a long time? That these foreigners are seemingly being brought into the country with the purpose of replacing the natives. Because, this thing gets very tricky. Because if you allow foreigners to live in your country long enough, they bring their culture into your country, they obtain citizenship, and then they start basically creating these subcultures within your society. Because they're not coming to your country to assimilate, they're coming for economic opportunities. Let's keep it real. They're not in your country because they love your culture so much. They're there for the money. And the governments seem to be incentivizing this, giving them opportunities, paying them, giving them welfare, giving them access to resources. And on top of that, the natives are being left behind. They're not a priority anymore to the governments. The governments seem to be there to cater to a new slave labor workforce. And the natives are at a place where they can't even afford property, they can't afford land, they can't afford houses. That is a crisis. You're giving land and homes to foreigners, but the indigenous people can't afford these things? And again, once these people become naturalized, they stay in your country long enough, start having children, their children are born with the citizenship of that country now. It becomes very difficult not to make an argument because they are now entitled to everything. So this is one of those things that can go out of control very quickly if it's not stopped at the right time. And evidently right now, all over the world, it's too late. But as I said, isn't it a coincidence? As South Africans, we can relate to this because it's what's happening with us. Zimbabweans and Nigerians, Mozambicans, Malawians, Zambians, Ethiopians, Bangladeshis, Pakistanis, Somalians are coming in, Congolese, coming in trucks and buses every day. I mean, it's just not coincidence. It's like they're being brought in. Our borders can't be that porous, but they're being allowed to be. And these people are being brought in to the country. Guys, capitalism is evil. This greed for money that the elites have is dangerous. They don't see you as a human being. See, white people thought they had it good because they've enjoyed so much power, dominance, and supremacy all over the world for so long. But now they're starting to realize that even they themselves now are being forced into the slave labor camp. Because like I said, the elites have experimented with slavery around the world for a long time. And I think now they're at a point where they've finally perfected the formula. Because like many people have believed around the world, that, oh, if you have a good paying job, you work hard, you go to school. Nonsense, man. They allow you to go to school because they want to create laborers. Then when they employ you, you feel like, okay, good, I'm finally independent. You're not. You're a slave. They've just customized it. They've just now rebranded it in a way that makes it more palatable for you to accept the conditions. But the reality is that slavery is alive and well under the guise of employment. Criminality and gangsterism alive and well under the guise of countries and political leaders. These are cartels, people. And you are nothing more than sheep being led to the slaughter. They don't care about your life. You're expendable to them. You think your military and your police are in your country to defend and protect you? No. They're there to defend and protect the world elites. That's what they're there for, so that these gangsters can get away with their criminality and the public can't do anything about it. Try. I mean, go protest. You try, do something. See how far you get. The point is, the system we live in, this democracy, this capitalism, is not designed, is not fit for humans to live in. Humans aren't just meant to live their whole lives working. Nobody's enjoying their lives. You have to wait for your vacation. So that's the only time you can actually feel alive. The rest of the time, you're working like a slave. And even then, after all that work, you can't even afford the basic things in life like a shelter and food.
We are importing people from cultures that act differently to us and treat women like, you know, third-class citizens.
And that's another very important thing. The crime statistics in South Africa are not because South Africans are such bad people, but because we allow so many foreigners to come into our country that now there's a culture of criminality and bribery and corruption, much like what's going on in Nigeria. I mean, guys, you know, these countries, we are said to be the crime capital of the world, which is not true, because there are many African countries where crime is worse, but because they can't collect stats, they don't have the capacity to collect stats. South Africa is more developed than them, and we collect stats on things like HIV and crime and rape. So we look like we are the GBV and rape capital of the world, but it's worse in Nigeria and many other African countries, but they don't have the capacity to collect stats. Nigeria, rape is normal. Killing people in Nigeria is normal. It's normal. Selling body parts is normal. Like, I don't know how to emphasize it enough. These are normal activities that happen in Nigeria. Human trafficking, kidnapping, prostitution, normal. Happens on a daily basis. Nobody collects stats on it. HIV rate through the roof, normal. And these people are bringing all these problems that they have. Terrorism, killing, tribalism, people killing for religious reasons, tribal reasons. They're bringing all of that and importing them into South Africa and into the UK, into Poland, into the Netherlands, USA, Canada, Asia. That's what they're bringing into your country. They're not bringing scarce skills. They're bringing crime, and they're destabilizing. They're there to destabilize, or instability. Yes, crime and instability in your country. So guys, Lemasipe, I'm trying to tell you that this is an orchestrated thing that's taking place around the world. It's not an accident.
Okay.
So it's not just how it looks. We're importing danger.
What would you make of this then, Nina? Do you think that there is any reason to be concerned when we look at the birth rate and the potential cultural consequences of this?
No, not at all. And there are several aspects that you have to look at. It's not just the fact that different cultures and different religions promote childbirth and bigger families, but you have to look at what women want. Women on the whole in the West are feeling less inclined to have children. They don't want to give up their way of life. It's taken decades for them to achieve some kind of parity, to have their own money and to be independent and free. And if you look at Japan, for instance, the birth rate is...
Guys, neoliberalism is another thing that's killing these first world countries, these white countries. This woman is talking nonsense. And you're going to see why she talks like this in a second. Because they're trying to make it seem as if this is what people are choosing. And it's not true. People are being indoctrinated with these ideologies, with these dreams and ambitions and these pursuits. The circumstances are creating a certain type of individual. And this environment that is being cultivated by the elites is creating or manufacturing the idea of consent. People aren't actually choosing this consciously. They are being coerced into choosing these things. The information that they're being exposed to on the internet is coercing them to make, Noam Chomsky calls it the illusion of consent. I think something like the illusion of consent, something like that, right? Where you think you're making decisions based on your own understanding of your circumstances, but in actuality, you're being manipulated. Sorry, It's called, Noam Chomsky, it's called manufactured consent. He writes about this. Your consent is being manufactured. Your thoughts don't actually come from you. You are being coerced with information on the internet, social media over a period of time.
They're very
big
low.
problems.
So, you know, you can't blame that on migration. Also, I sincerely object to this business of foreigners. That you know, that I got very cross last time I discussed this because
But they are foreigners,
because
Nina.
therefore I am a foreigner because my father was Polish, so therefore I'm a foreigner.
Was you born here?
Yes, I was.
You're not a foreigner then, are you?
But the
See this problem? Same thing we're experiencing in South Africa now, because when we say that such and such a person is a foreigner, they say, oh no, but we're all African, we're not foreign. They're trying to basically eliminate this idea of somebody coming in from outside and trying to claim that we're all one. Or like what this lady is saying, that, you know, I think she's Polish, right? But she's obviously obtained British citizenship. She's got the paperwork, or she was born there, whatever the case, however they acquire it. The problem is it's very difficult for those people to be as patriotic about the country as the natives, because the natives, their entire family lineage is from there. But you coming in from the outside as one generation or second generation, you're not going to feel as patriotic. Therefore, you're not going to fight for the same things that the natives want to fight for, which is to preserve culture, right? To preserve the resources and keep them distributed amongst the natives, because they've had to fight through wars and go through slavery and colonization to have access to these things, guys. There's history behind it. So it seems that what the world elites seek to do is, by replacing the natives with these immigrants that are not patriotic, it then becomes easier to control people, because people with no roots have nothing to fight for. If you don't know your history, or you don't have a history that's connected to that land, you will not want to fight for anything, because there's no context to your existence there. You are there simply for the money. And that's what capitalism wants. Look what they did to Black Americans. They took them from West Africa, put them in a melting pot of just no culture, no roots, no heritage, took away their language, took away their heritage, and forced them to live amongst each other and to get along. And in the process, Black Americans, they lost their culture to Africa, their connection to Africa, their connection to the land. And although they fought for their rights in America, and you know they've been granted those rights, they have no roots to Africa, right? So now today they call themselves foundational Black Americans, and they have no association to anything that has to do with Africa. But ultimately, the point I'm trying to explain is that that's what capitalism seeks to do. It seeks to uproot people and remove them from their heritage, remove them from their history, to make them easier to control, to make them compliant laborers. That's what we're seeing around the world. The world elites are now using the microcosm of slavery and apartheid and all these concepts, and they're applying it now globally. Hence why there's an agenda for 2030. I think that's when they're going to start microchipping people and basically creating food rations and water rations and central control of the entire world. One world order. And if you don't want to comply with it, you're going to get killed.
No, but this report, which I find repugnant, because here's another way we can fear foreigners and make people
Born
hate
to a
them.
foreign parent.
No, born to I was born to a foreign parent.
That's just a statistic, then, isn't it? I mean,
Yes, but the way it's written and the way it's portrayed, it's saying you may say.
See what makes the battle really difficult to fight, because now you're going to have people with the nationality on paper, but there's no patriotism about the land and the country. They don't even care about the history, because in their minds, a country is just something that you get a piece of paper for. But for the natives, it's much deeper than that. It has to do with your blood. It has to do with your relationship with that land. So somebody like this lady, those neoliberals that are like, oh, nobody's a foreigner, we all belong to the earth, we're all one, problematic. And the world elites, this is the narrative they're driving. This is what the kind of workforce they're trying to create. You know, the Black American with no roots, the Black American who speaks only English, no African languages. They want to eliminate ancestral connections, heritage, culture, history. They want to wipe and erase all of that out and get everybody on board with this new program, the New World Agenda of just being laborers and accepting that the elites are all powerful, that they're all supreme, and that everybody else must bow down to them. If you're still under this deception of countries and, oh, we are this country and you are that country, you don't get it. All of that is being erased. And this is what we are experiencing in South Africa. You got Zimbabweans with papers that say that they're South African, but they're not patriotic towards the country. You got Nigerians with papers. Look at the so-called South Nigerian children and how disrespectful they are to South Africans. These South Nigerian children are coming here, disrespecting the natives, talking about you guys are xenophobic, or, you know, all these isms that are being thrown out. You're racist, you're xenophobic, you're this, that, and the third. And it's all distractions because the bourgeoisie, the white capitalists, the black capitalists, they're the ones in charge, guys. They're the ones running the show. And the people have no power. Democracy does not give the people power. It's a lie. Power is in the hands of the elites, the businesses, big corporations. And the people think that they're affecting change with their votes. You are doing nothing to effect change. Your countries, your states are captured by criminal syndicates, gangsters that are peddling drugs all over the world, from South America to everywhere. Look, what the same way the FBI and CIA dealt with Black Americans in the hood, by filling their environment with guns, with drugs, with alcohol, with a party lifestyle, party mentality, to basically cause them to self-genocide. That's what they're doing around the world. And this insurgency is going to spark a massive world war. It's inevitable. It cannot be avoided. We are far from peace. The more this globalist agenda keeps being pushed, that's displacing the natives and removing and eradicating history. Oh, bro, you're going to see people are going to fight.
It's not racist, but the whole thing is about white and the white British.
Okay.
Look, I love Britain. I love the British culture. But what is it about the British culture that is going to... Is it roast beef on a Sunday? What is it?
There's a whole range of things about British culture, isn't there? And it was interesting to hear Adam's anecdote about Bethnal Green. Very often, those who are relaxed about these sort of things, wholly relaxed, say, well, it's great, the UK's a melting pot. But I don't think it is. I think the UK is becoming a silo system, actually. It's not lots of people of different nationalities mixing in. It's actually that there are completely different cultural areas in different...
Ding, 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 ding. Same thing happening where? In South Africa and all over the world. These immigrants aren't coming in to assimilate to the culture. They're coming in to set up their own cultures in your land, to set up their kingdoms in your land. Because the goal is to colonize that particular land or that country. And they'll keep going as far as you let them. Now you've literally got these enclaves where people have said, like, look at South Africa, dude. We have so many different cultures and religions and there's things we didn't have years ago that now suddenly have become normal, with different religious practices that we're all confused, we're all looking around like, what's going on? But we've been sold on Rainbow Nation, multiculturalism, blah, 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 nonsense. All this mass propaganda about Rainbow Nation, multiculturalism, non-racialism coming together is nonsense. It feeds into the narrative that the elites want you to believe. But these people are not integrating. They are living separatist lifestyles amongst each other. And they keep buying more land and property and owning sections and areas of your country. Some in South Africa, there are no-go zones where natives can't go there because they would get hurt or killed or robbed or kidnapped. They tell you this is a no-go zone for South Africans. In your own country, imagine this. Your own country, you're being told you can't come here because foreigners have taken over. That's colonization. That's imperialism. Like, what are we talking about here?
parts of the country. And that is not a recipe for social harmony and peace.
I don't like the
Integration has
ghettoisation.
failed.
They're not assimilating.
Yeah, there's not assimilation. Integration has largely failed, tragically. And Nina, to your point, look, of course, nobody is suggesting that you put a gun to women's heads and suggest
Well,
that
they're
they've
trying.
got... Well, I don't think anybody is putting a gun to women's heads.
No, but I mean,
the
metaphorically.
problems are... as I was saying right at the start of the show, all of the problems are massive disincentives. Childcare in the UK is the
agree.
most expensive in
It's
Europe
dreadful.
and the most
If you have to
regulated.
pay for it.
Yeah, if you have to pay for it.
If you have to pay for it.
If you have to pay for
But
it.
in countries
so
where-
all of these things, if you're just, imagine just a typical young British couple, probably middle class, trying to build a career, huge incentives not to have kids. Huge incentives.
I
and we've
agree.
got to change
Childcare
that.
has to be sorted out. But the thing is, in France, they're trying to. It's not just here. In France, they're trying to incentivise young people to have, giving them free fertility tests between the age of 16 and 24. But I want to ask Adam a question. Two things. One, you say they won't assimilate. The problem being that you don't want them to assimilate. You don't want them here. You sat here on this sofa and said, I don't
want illegal immigrants
No,
here.
no, no,
Please
you-
don't try and portray me as racist, Nina. One second,
I'm
Nina.
not saying he's racist.
One
said we were talking about people assimilating, and
Isn't this crazy that we are having the exact same debates in South Africa around xenophobia? Where is it the problem? Is it illegal foreigners, or is the problem just foreigners in general? Bro, come on, we're not stupid. There's a globalist agenda taking place. It just can't be that we're having the exact same debates around the world at the exact same time about the exact same thing. Come on, man. In South Africa, this is exactly what's going on. You say, you're xenophobe. So basically, and mind you, in African languages across the continent, there's no word for xenophobia. These are constructs from the West that have come here. Racism, xenophobia, all these things that have come here to basically cause this insurrection that's taking place. And I'm not one who preaches unity. I don't believe in unity. I believe you are what you are culturally. That's what you were born into, and that's who you should be, and you should be around those people. It's not about trying to, let's come together. No, it's not trying to force unity. You are your culture. That's where you belong. Those are your people. You don't have to force unity. You don't have to say, let's be united. Why do you need to say that? You're already with your people, right? Unless there's a globalist agenda. All of a sudden now we have to unite. No. Why are we uniting? Who benefits from it? The capitalists, because now they've got a bigger workforce. Think about it. Capitalism, this incentive for capital and for profit, requires that you must have a workforce. But because you want to maximize your profits, you want to try to underpay your staff and underhire your staff as well, and overwork those that do get jobs, which is all immoral. So how can you vouch for capitalism? And eventually, you're not going to have enough workers for the amount of work that needs to be done. So now you have to start importing the labor. And how are the natives going to feel about that? But you don't care. You just want to make money. So screw them. Let them cry. And your government keeps bringing... Remember, governments are ran by big business. Democracy is ran by big business because your country goes to the highest spender. Whichever business or companies are spending the most, those are the ones that are controlling your country, and those are the ones that are controlling policy, because there's no way they're going to pay for you to make rules and laws that go against what they want. So democracy is not for the people, it's for the rich, it's for the elite. You don't have a voice, ironically, right? Like, I don't know why people can't see this. You, the citizens, the people, you don't have a voice in democracy. It's an oligarch. It's being ran by the rich, by the big companies, by the elites. That's who's running your country. You as the people, you can march and protest all you want. The government is just going to ignore you. You can do segments on TV, talk about, they're just going to ignore you and keep bringing the cheap labor in and keep trafficking humans. I mean, guys, human trafficking is one of the biggest global syndicates. Humans are being moved around like drugs to be exploited sexually. Children, we've got Epstein files that are not going to be released because these elites are complicit. They're a part of these things. Trafficking is a thing. These elites are sick. They don't see people as human beings. They are raping children, molesting minors. This is normal in their world. Drugging people, selling them into prostitution. You guys have no idea. Your drugs are being moved by your governments. They are the biggest gangsters. Imports and exports. Guys, countries are cartels. Parliamentary leaders are gangster leaders. Citizens have no power. You are slaves. Slavery has not ended. It's been rebranded. You are all slaves. A lot of you can't afford what you need to live. You can't even afford your own dreams. Many young couples today, they can't afford to have children. They can't even afford to put a shelter over their own heads.
You just said,
let's let him come back
I
to that.
don't want...
Well, let's
No,
let
I
him come
didn't
back.
say that there. Look, I didn't say that there. No, Nina, please stop making things up.
I'm not making things
Right,
up. I'm lying.
in a previous show many months ago, Nina tried to tell me that some of these people coming across the migrant on the migrant boats, some could be doctors that treat my family, future, cancer cases or things like that. It's this naivety and this sort of rhetoric from people like Nina and Gary Lineker that think that all these people coming across are great people. They're not. Hold on, Nina, you said that. There is a naivety. You do not know what some of the monsters that are coming across on these dinghies are.
For heaven's sake. And I also wanted to ask you a question. You said that you'd love to live in Spain.
Yeah.
OK. Where do you want to live in Spain?
Mallorca.
OK. And when you go there, will it be a predominantly British section of Spain or Spaniards?
Spanish, actually.
OK.
And I would go there, I would try and learn the language, I would buy a property, pay taxes, and I would have input to that
you
country.
wouldn't be able to learn the language.
No, I probably wouldn't be able to, but I would try, and I would input with my property tax.
What is wrong with people coming here?
Well, there's a big difference, Nina. There's a big difference.
What is the difference?
Because if you go to Spain, you are not indulged if you wish to speak in English. When I was last in Spain...
This is the problem you create when you bring immigrants into your country. You've got this Polish woman who's unpatriotic, talking about immigrants just need to come, legal or illegal, she doesn't care. Criminal, non-criminal, she doesn't care. We must just open our borders. Yet these same people lock their doors at night and have fences and walls and gates to protect their property, to protect their families, to protect themselves. But they're telling us we must just embrace anybody coming into the country and not be racist and not be xenophobic, blah, 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 blah. But you lock your doors. Why don't you open up, remove your fences, remove your gate, open your door, let the entire neighborhood come into your house as they please, since you're so liberal and open-minded. Let them enjoy the food that you work hard for. Let them enjoy your family, your children, your kids. I'm sure you'd have a problem with that. But you now want to subject the citizens to this, yet you live in gated communities. It's hypocritical. You must start by opening your own borders, remove your fences and gates and unlock your doors. Let your whole neighborhood come in, since we're all one, right? You won't do it. But the whole country must do it? Are you insane? Are you okay? Are you crazy? This is the insanity we're listening to. We're literally giving these people a platform to talk nonsense. And these are educated people that have gone to university, which goes to show you that even the white educational system is useless. All it does is produce laborers for the elites. It doesn't actually teach people critical thinking skills. These people cannot think properly or logically. Education is useless. It was done predominantly during industrialization, or it became popular so that it could produce laborers, not actual intelligent people. Some of the smartest people I know are people that didn't go to university, people that didn't receive that indoctrination. And I'm not saying university is bad. Obviously, for certain subjects like the STEM ones, you need engineers, you need doctors, you need those things. I'm just saying the capacity for critical thinking, the university has not solved that. People cannot actually think. You can have a high-paying salary, have the PhD, and still be an idiot. Like this woman, guys, you're destroying. And here's the thing, nationality, right? It's just a piece of paper. People buy nationalities. Guys, people are bribing immigration officers. Did you know that? Nationality is flimsy. It means nothing. People are buying these things. Your culture actually holds more weight. It has more substance. Culture has more strength. That's why they're trying to get rid of it and replace it with nationality, because nationality is a piece of paper. It's a document that can be bought. It has nothing to do with values and ideals and ideology. No, it's just, I was born here, so therefore I am one of you. But you're not one of us. You don't think like us. You don't function like us. You don't do the things we do. You don't even look like us. And those things are important. Yes, they are. They're important. National identity or cultural identity is important. That's what garrisons and guides your behavior, your morality. But if you've got random people that are hoisting the same piece of paper and saying that they want, but their behavior doesn't reflect it, you've got a problem. Because now you don't know what your neighbor is capable of doing, because you don't come from the same place. You don't think the same. So now you cannot trust anybody around you, because even if they are citizens that have the piece of paper or document, you don't trust their moral code, which means crime is going to be on the guys. I'm telling you, the safest country. Look what happened to Sweden. They were bringing in immigrants and rape started going up. Criminality started going up. Things that they had no issues with before started becoming a problem. And then those countries have to respond by trying to protect their cultures. And then they're labeled as what? Racist, xenophobic. Oh, it's a mess. It's a whole scheme to stop the natives from rising up, and defending their land and defending their rights. They're basically trying to create the situation where your country becomes a free-for-all that elites can use to control. And it goes back to the real question is, whose country is it? Because countries are companies, guys. You, the natives, have been taken over. You've been, what you call a country is actually a piece of land that is owned by these imperialists that are using it for their own, to enrich themselves. You have no stake or claim to the land anymore the day you allowed these systems to come into your country or your land. Capitalism and all of this nonsense and democracy and government. The day you allowed these elites to control you was the day you lost your land, the day you lost your culture. Because these people don't care about your culture. They care about being in control. They care about money and they care about power. So when you say my country, it's not actually yours anymore. It was lost a long time ago. The question is, how are you going to get it back from these elites? That's where we are at right now as a world today. That's where we're at right now. How are you going to get back your homeland and save your culture? Woof, guys.
I had to visit a doctor. I had to pay for a translator. It wasn't provided by the Spanish government. It wasn't paid for by the Spanish taxpayer. It was paid for by me.
Yes, but I bet
and I think we should do the same in the UK.
Neither here nor there.
I just want to drag us back to these acts. We're pressed for time. So, Mark, put this to you. Is it fair to at least pose the question about whether or not British people, not just white Brits, but British people who are here in Britain now, are not having children because their tax burden is so high, because they're subsidising non-British people or recent arrivals so that they can have as many kids as they want?
That's a huge jump.
It's an interesting hypothesis. It's a very interesting hypothesis, right? We know that British people are having many fewer kids, and we know there are a whole range of reasons that might explain that. I'm being taxed too heavily, so I couldn't properly afford it. The cost of housing, as I've mentioned, is so high, we can't actually have a bedroom for the kids. It's just beyond our reach. So it seems to me a perfectly reasonable hypothesis that there are vast numbers of disincentives to ordinary white British people, be that tax, be that housing costs, be that childcare costs through the roof, especially those who are working and in the private sector, massive disincentives. It is reasonable, therefore, to conclude that those disincentives in our tax and benefits system are at least a fairly substantial part of these statistics.
And also, look, I've got 3 kids, but if I didn't have kids now, I wouldn't bring them into this world, because I don't know what this country's going to look like in a few years. We've got a crime epidemic, and the shape of this country, the way it's going, is frightening. So many people, young people, will be scared to bring kids into this world.
Final word, Nina.
You know, you cannot go scaremongering. That you have to accept that the world is changing, that the world is moving, that people move to different countries. They assimilate, or they
don't.
or not to various degrees.
big
But it
problem.
depends also on the welcome they get. And
Well, we have been
The
very
welcome
well.
is pretty
you
generous.
cannot go through life as a kind of little Englander saying, I'm putting the barricades up
Nobody's
and
saying
nobody's
that.
coming
Are
in.
countries like Nigeria racist for not wanting a load of white people to move there, Nina?
Nobody's
I
saying
have
that.
no idea about Nigeria.
We are inclusive and we are fair and we are welcoming.
Good luck, pal.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, why do they come here then?
Okay. All right. Well, look, hey, there we go. The stats are out there. The facts.
This lady sounds like those human rights activists, those NGOs in South Africa that are advocating for, that are speaking on behalf of the immigrants. These people exist everywhere, guys. The noise we're making in South Africa is very good. We are supposed to do that because we're not going to allow this globalist agenda to replace us and take over our land. So isn't it amazing? This woman sounds exactly like these NGOs that come into South Africa and basically threaten us and tell us that we're being xenophobic and that you know, we must treat foreigners well, but they're bringing criminality. Why won't she address that? They never want to address that. They want to make it seem like these foreigners are just victims and they're so innocent and they can do no wrong and they're doing nothing wrong and we are so inhumane and the way we're treating them is there's no voice, the Ubuntu. Oh, bro, garbage. But I hope this video is showing you or can show you that this is not unique to South Africa. This is happening everywhere. There is an agenda that's pushing this. And as the people in your respective so-called countries or your cultures, you must fight to preserve your culture. We must stop this globalist agenda, guys. Anyway, that's all from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from it. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell everybody you know about this video. Make everybody aware that this is something that is a global phenomenon, especially South Africans. We're not alone, guys. It's happening everywhere. And that what we're doing and fighting is the right thing. Operation Dula, March and March, Action SA, we are doing the right thing, guys, and continue the fire. Keep fighting for our, not just country, it's deeper than that. We are native to South Africa. So we're fighting for our cultures. We're fighting for our history. We're fighting for our heritage. And we cannot allow these global elites to replace us with this agenda. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you. Till next time, hi be or salang handle. Bahe, so sharp.